Today, we're delving into the depths of the most protected places on Earth, unveiling the mysteries hidden within their fortified walls. Get ready to be amazed as we uncover secrets that defy imagination. Stay tuned, because you won't believe what's hidden inside these guarded fortresses. Number 15. The Svalbard Seed Bank. In farming, there are only a few types of plants that are chosen because they are good. One kind of banana used to be common, but it was killed by a disease called Panama disease in 1950. This almost made it disappear. Then, people started growing a different kind of banana called Cavendish. It was not as tasty, but it was stronger. But growing only a few types of plants is dangerous. If they all have the same genes, they can all get sick from the same disease. This could destroy big parts of the world's food like corn, wheat, or rice in just a few months. To stop this from happening, there are places called seed banks. The Svalbard Seed Bank is one of these. It's like a really safe place for plant seeds. It's inside a mountain in Norway, on an island called Svalbard. The Norwegian government owns it. The seed bank is a safe place to keep seeds from lots of different plants. It can hold up to 42 million samples. That's like keeping a little piece of 42 million different kinds of plants. The seeds are stored deep inside the mountain, about 500 feet down. Even if the power goes out, the temperature stays the same because it's deep underground. It's around -3 degrees C. This seed bank is really important because it helps keep different kinds of plants safe from disappearing. Number 14. Pine Gap, Australia. Pine Gap is located about 11 million southwest of Alice Springs in the Northern Territory. It's a very important place because it's where Australia and the United States work together to watch over satellites and communicate with them. They officially named it the Joint Defense Facility Pine Gap in 1988. Before that, it was called the Joint Defense Space Research Facility. Pine Gap helps control American spy satellites that keep an eye on about 1/3 of the Earth. Its faraway location in central Australia makes it hard for spy ships to listen in because it's not near international waters. Apart from its importance in world politics, Pine Gap also helps the local community by providing jobs. It's run by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, U.S. National Security Agency, NSA, and the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office. Pine Gap does a lot of important work, like a program called Echelon. Inside the NSA, they call Pine Gap the Australian Mission Ground Station, and they use a term called rainfall to talk about what the NSA does there. The base has a big computer center that's protected by 38 domes covering radio dishes. More than 800 people work there, and they're overseen by a senior CIA officer. It's fair to say that Pine Gap is a place with a lot of secrets. Number 13. The Lascaux Cave. The Lascaux Cave is a special place in France. It's in the Dorone area. People think it's the best place to see really old art. The paintings there are over 17,000 years old. Some local kids found it in 1940. When you go inside, you see around 2,000 painted pictures. The colors are still bright even though it's been a long time. You can see animals, people, and strange symbols. The cave is in a valley called Bizar Valley. Lots of old sites are there, but Lascaux Cave is special because it has big paintings and they're really good. One part of the cave has huge paintings of black bulls. One bull is 17 feet long. What's cool about the paintings is that they show animals moving, like horses running and bulls charging. This was rare to see in paintings until a long time later. But there's something strange about the paintings too. They don't show reindeer or any plants or landscapes. Some people think the paintings might show stars in the sky. The cave used to be open to everyone, but too many visitors were damaging the paintings. Now, only one person at a time can go in, just to make sure everything stays okay. Number 12. Surtsey Island. On November 14th, 1963, there was a sudden explosion under the sea near Iceland. It made a lot of steam and ash shoot up. This made a new island about 20 miles away from Iceland's south coast. It was named Surtsey Island after a character from old stories. Surtsey Island is special because it hasn't been changed by humans. Over the last 35 years, there have been many explosions that built up the island. This gave scientists a rare chance to see how a new island forms and changes. The government of Iceland made Surtsey Island off-limits to most people. Only a few researchers can go there, and they need special permission. Even then, they have to follow strict rules. They can't bring any plants or chemicals that might hurt the island. Recently, a group led by Marie Jackson, a scientist from the University of Utah, went to Surtsey Island to study it. They went after the birds stopped nesting and left before the seals came in September. They collected data and samples to study later. They made sure not to disturb the island's animals. All the research and testing on Surtsey Island happen away from the island. This is to keep the island safe from harm. Number 11. North Brother Island. North Brother Island is a small piece of land between the Bronx and Rikers Island in the East River. It has a sad but interesting history. In 1885, the city got the island and built Riverside Hospital there. This hospital was for people with contagious diseases like typhus, tuberculosis, and smallpox. One famous person who lived there was Typhoid Mary. She was a carrier of typhoid fever but didn't show any symptoms. She caused outbreaks in the places where she worked as a cook. Even after being told not to cook anymore, she did, and more people got sick. She was kept on the island until she died in 1938. In 1904, a ship called the General Slocum caught fire near the island, and many people died. It was one of the worst disasters in New York's history until the September 11th attacks. There's a fountain in Tompkins Square Park to remember the people who died in this tragedy. After World War II, the hospital was used for veterans and later for treating heroin addiction. But in 1963, it closed for good. Now, the island is off-limits to the public. It's a sanctuary for birds, especially black-crowned night herons. This helps to keep its history alive and protects the birds who live there. Number 10. Heard Island. Heard Island and the McDonald Islands are Australia's most isolated territory. They are in the southern Indian Ocean, far from other lands. They're over 2,500 miles southwest of Perth and about 2,400 miles from the nearest part of mainland Australia. No one lives there. It's a group of islands that are far away from any other place where people live. Antarctica is the closest continent, about 1,000 miles to the south. The Kerguelen Islands, about 280 miles northeast of Heard Island, are the only other nearby islands. Heard Island is most of the territory's land. It's mostly covered in ice. The tallest mountain is Mawson Peak, which is an active volcano about 9,000 feet tall. It's also the highest peak in Australia. The McDonald Islands, just 27 miles west of Heard Island, are small and part of a mostly underwater volcano. This volcano erupted for the first time in over 75,000 years in 1992. These islands, along with Mawson Peak on Heard Island, are the only active volcanoes in Australia. Europeans first landed on these islands in 1855. They used them for seal hunting, but they stopped because there were almost no seals left. In 1910, the United Kingdom claimed the islands, but Australia took over in 1947. Today, Heard Island and the McDonald Islands are a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a marine nature reserve. Australia's Antarctic Division manages them to keep them beautiful and untouched. Number 9. The Korean DMZ. The Korean Demilitarized Zone, or the DMZ, is a big barrier between North and South Korea. It's like a big wall splitting the two countries. They made it in 1953 to stop fighting. The zone is 155 miles long and about 2 miles wide. It helps keep the peace between the two countries, but sometimes bad things happen there, like fights or accidents. Near the western end of the DMZ is the Joint Security Area. It's where North and South Korea meet to talk. Before, it was the only place they could meet. But now, things are a bit calmer there. The DMZ is important because it has the Joint Security Area. This area has the bridge of no return where they swat prisoners. They also remove landmines and explosives there sometimes. For 50 years, people couldn't live in the DMZ because it's dangerous. But in some places, like Penminjam Village and Dongbi Bew Line, people sometimes go there. It's turned into a park now. It's a special park because it has lots of plants and animals. There are over 6,000 kinds of plants and animals in the DMZ. Some are endangered, like the Korean fox and the Asiatic black bear. But there are also some rare animals, like the Siberian tiger and the Amur leopard. Lots of ecologists study the DMZ because it's a great place for plants and animals. Number 8. Morgan Island. Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is in South Carolina. It's home to more than 4,000 monkeys called rhesus monkeys. The island is in Street Helena Sound, near Charleston. People talk a lot about this island, and there's debate about it. The rhesus macaque monkeys originally came from Asia. They were moved to Morgan Island in the late 1970s for science. There were only 400 of them then. They came from the Caribbean Primate Research Center at the University of Puerto Rico. The island is 4,500 acres big and used to be empty. But when the monkeys came, it closed to the public. The FDA and a private group worked together to make more monkeys for science. But not much was known about this until the early 2000s. People stopped a lot of the research because they found out about it. Now, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and Charles River Laboratories take care of the monkeys. There are more monkeys now, but people can't go to the island. Still, you can see the monkeys from a boat. This island has one of only 2 groups of rhesus monkeys in the United States. The other group is in Silver Springs, Florida, but it's not good to go near these monkeys because of the law and health reasons. Number 7. Green-Brier. In Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, just 5 hours from the nation's capital, there's a special place called the Green-Brier Resort. It's been called America's Resort since 1778. Many important people, including 26 US presidents and European royalty, have stayed there. It's not just a fancy hotel. Hidden on its grounds is something secret called Project Greek Island. This project was a bunker built by the US government in the late 1950s. It was supposed to be a safe place for Congress if there was a nuclear war. During the 1950s, people were really scared of nuclear bombs. So, the government wanted a safe place for important leaders to go if something bad happened. This bunker was a big secret. Most of the people in Congress didn't even know about it unless there was an emergency. Luckily, there was never a nuclear war, so the bunker wasn't needed. Even though it was a secret, it's likely that presidents and vice presidents who visited knew about it. It took over 2 years to build the bunker. The company that built it didn't know what it was really for. They thought it was going to be a new place for exhibitions or conferences. The bunker was really strong, with thick concrete walls and steel. It was 20 feet underground. Inside, there were rooms for Senate and House meetings, with seats and microphones. There was also a big room for joint sessions. They even had a TV studio for communicating after a disaster. The beds were military-style bunk beds, one for each congressman. To keep it all secret, government workers pretended to be TV technicians at the resort. Some people found it strange that they weren't doing normal hotel jobs. Number 6. The White House. The White House is one of the most famous buildings in the world. It has very good security to keep the US president and their visitors safe. Some parts of the White House can be visited by the public, but you have to follow strict rules. You need to book at least 21 days before your visit. People from the US have to ask their Congress members, and people from other countries have to ask their consulates. The White House is in a special area near an airport where planes can't fly close. There are missile launchers around the city to stop any planes that don't follow the rules. The White House has special radar and cameras to watch for any danger. The fence around it is tall and strong with sensors to warn about any pressure or threats. The windows of the White House can't be broken easily, even by bullets. There are lasers around the building to detect any danger. The White House has very good security, and while we don't know all the details, it's considered one of the safest buildings in the world. Number 5. North Sentinel Island. North Sentinel Island is a small island found in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It's very isolated and protected by indigenous people. These islands are part of India. There are 184 islands in this group in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel Island is important because it's far away from other places, about 300 miles from Myanmar and 700 miles from India. In 1967, people from the Anthropological Survey of India tried to make friends with the indigenous tribe living on North Sentinel Island. But the tribe didn't want any visitors. They were known for being unfriendly and would shoot arrows at boats and ships that came near their land. The first time people went there, they found no one on the beach. It seemed like the tribe knew they were coming and hid in the jungle. The leader of the expedition, Tayan Pandit, and his team followed footprints and found a village. There were 2 huts with fires still burning and food left behind. It seemed like there were around 40 to 50 people living there. The visitors tried to leave gifts like coconuts and metal tools to make friends. But when they went back in the 1970s and 80s, the tribe was still hostile. They attacked the visitors, so they had to leave. Number 4. Zone Rouge. The Red Zone, also known as the Zone Rouge, shows us how bad World War I was in northeastern France. This area is barren and forbidden because of all the fighting during the war. The land used to be fertile, but now it's damaged and dangerous. The Battle of Verdun, which lasted 300 days, ruined a lot of farmland. After the war, the French government said a huge area, about 460 square miles, from Nancy to Verdun to Lille, couldn't be used anymore. It's like Chernobyl in France. The soil is full of poison, so almost no plants can grow there. There are also old bombs left over from the war that haven't exploded, making it very risky. The government said the damage was so bad that all buildings were destroyed, all farming was ruined, and no one could live there, but they're trying to fix it. They have a special team to clear out old bombs, and every year, farmers help by collecting dangerous stuff from their fields. They're working hard to make the land safe again. Number 3. Diego Garcia. In the middle of the Indian Ocean, there's a very important place called Diego Garcia. It's a strong military base for the United States. This base is used for starting military missions. It's far away from the United States on an island. The history of this place is mixed with the British Empire, and it's kept secret. People have many different ideas about it, which leads to lots of conspiracy theories. Diego Garcia's beginnings are not clear. Some say it was found during a Portuguese journey in the 1500s. It officially became known as Diego Garcia in 1599, according to a map by Edward Wright. For more than 200 years after that, nobody lived there. Things changed in 1965 when the British made the British Indian Ocean Territory, making Diego Garcia official. 7 years later, the British and US governments agreed to build a US Navy communication station on the island. This station helped with communication for US and British Navy operations in the Indian Ocean, including ships and planes. Surprisingly, within just 2 years, the US built a permanent base there. By the 1980s, Diego Garcia was a fully working naval support place. Some people call it the footprint of freedom. It's still working today, with lots of American troops there to support the US and other forces in the Indian Ocean. Because it's secretive, military couples can't both work there at the same time. Usually, people work there for about a year, but some civilians have stayed for up to 15 years. Diego Garcia is a symbol of military strength, and its secrets are closely guarded, making it mysterious in the huge Indian Ocean. Number 2. The Pentagon. The Pentagon is a big building in Virginia where the US Department of Defense works. It's the biggest office building in the world, covering 62 million square feet, with 5 floors above ground and 2 below. Inside, it's like a small city with around 23,000 military people and 3,000 other workers. Even though it looks huge from outside, inside it's more like a regular office building or a small city. There are things like a shopping mall inside, with a gym, 20 fast food places, a restaurant, and many shops. One interesting thing is the courtyard, which is shaped like a pentagon. During the Cold War, Russians thought there might be missiles hidden there, but now it's just a place where people can relax. After the 9/11 attack, they made a special agency to protect the Pentagon and everyone inside. This agency has different types of people, like police, investigators, and experts in handling dangerous things like chemicals or bombs. They even have a special team of about 45 people ready to deal with emergencies. Also, they are ready for strange things like a zombie apocalypse. Number 1. ADX Florence. ADX Florence is a super secure prison in Colorado, USA. It's in the Rocky Mountains, about a 2-hour drive from Denver. This place is really tough and is often called the Alcatraz of the Rockies. It's for the most dangerous prisoners who might try to escape. People like El Chapo, a famous drug dealer, and the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, are kept here. In this prison, inmates spend most of their time alone in small cells. They're only allowed out for a few hours each week. Even then, they're kept in cages. The cells are very basic, with just a bed, a desk, and a stool. Everything is made of strong materials like concrete, so it's hard to break. Security is tight. There are cameras everywhere, and the doors are controlled remotely. Guards are always watching, ready to lock everything down if there's any trouble. Outside, there are fences with razor wire and guards with guns. It's designed to be impossible to escape from. Inside, prisoners can listen to the radio, watch TV, and even see some mainstream shows and Netflix. But their access to these things is controlled. This prison is meant to keep dangerous people locked up and under control. It's a tough place, but it's necessary to keep everyone safe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the mysteries of the world's most protected places, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more intriguing content.